Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review, and next up is the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Wave 9, the Lost Galaxy Blue Ranger. This is Kai Chen, and I am excited. Lost Galaxy is probably my technically second favorite series, season, or whatever you would, I guess. At one point it was a different, different Ranger team each season. Mighty Morphin had the first 3 seasons, or 2 3/4, and Alien Rangers. That's a complicated thing. Whereas Mighty Morphin really holds the nostalgia factor much more for me because I loved the show when I was a kid. Being an adult and fairly recently, over the last year or whatever it was, having watched some other seasons, In Space was fantastic. Lost Galaxy was really good. I don't think I got all the way through Lost Galaxy, but I did enjoy what I had seen from it. So now we have another Ranger from there. We actually have the Red Ranger, Leo. We had him twice over, one in the 2-pack and then one as a single release. So now we have the Lost Galaxy Blue, and then I'm sure we'll continue to see other team members being released. I like that we're getting more complete teams. Like with SPDs continuing to go now In Space, we're getting more. So I'm glad that we kind of have this going on. Hopefully one day Beast Morphers Yellow will get released, and I guess technically Silver, right? Steel or whoever that is. But I'm excited for Lost Galaxy. So this figure in particular, there's a couple of things that people were not happy about in the original promo images, such as the logo that's on the Quasar Saber and then the color of his helmet. So those things were actually fixed, which is actually pretty awesome. So let's get right to it and go over it. So artwork, you can see all the accessories and stuff that comes in the package. The portrait head sculpt there looks really good. The wraparound of the artwork there on the side, 3D render of the figure on the back. And one of the things here, if you look at the helmet portion, see that top portion is actually colored white, and then around the visor is actually silver. So that was one of the errors that were made there, and I think the Quasar Saber, that I'd have to double check if that's the incorrect logo there, but so people weren't happy, so they actually corrected that. So that is pretty awesome. So let's get it opened up. Okay, so here's the Lost Galaxy Blue Ranger out of the package with his trans dagger, which converts into the Cosma Claw, I think it is, and has like water powers to it, and then also transforms his sword. So there's a couple of things that kind of goes with it. So it's cool that we got the trans dagger here, but we didn't get a trans dagger with Leo, the Lost Galaxy Red Ranger, and they released this guy twice. What the hell, Hasbro? There's no consistency with shit. So we got the Quasar Saber, which is cool, so the fully extended, and then we got the where it's not extended there, which is cool. But we, like, the second release of the Lost Galaxy Red did not come with the fully extended Quasar Saber, but the first one did. But then the second Lost Galaxy Red came with the Quasar launcher, which Blue does not. So what the hell? Like, why aren't we getting all the weapons for each figure when they first release, or even on the second release? Like, why don't we get some of these things? So I think it's that inconsistency with the line that's really driving people nuts. That and the QC issues. Luckily, I was able to look at mine. They did have several, so I was able to pick and choose, how mine were gonna look, because some of them were pretty bad. Like one other Blue here, his belt was super off-centered, so the little V logo there was off to the side, and I don't know that those can kind of really move a lot. I think they're glued in place, so that would have been really bad. Another one had something going on the helmet. Luckily, they had this other one, so I can look and when it was good. The SPD green, there was one that looked like it had white out over some of the white lines, like they saw that it was an issue and they corrected it, or tried to correct it, and then ended up making it look even worse. So there's those things that's going on with the line. So it is kind of frustrating when we see like some of them come with all their weapons, but then some of them don't. At Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest, somebody asked the question like, Zeo Blue Rocky didn't get his Tonfas. Like, what's up with that? Adam Park, Zeo Green, he got his weapon. Tommy Oliver, Red Zeo, he got his weapon, but Rocky didn't get his. And they said, don't worry, those will get released at some point next year, or I think it was. So what the hell does Hasbro have up their sleeve that they would do that? I highly, highly, highly doubt we get an accessories pack. I just don't think that is something that Hasbro does. So that is not something that I would expect to see. It would be cool And it sucks that we would have to pay for that separately when they should all just come with the figure itself. But I mean, it still would be kind of cool because we really don't get accessory packs, and even the Transformers accessory packs still come with the figure. So, you know, we'll see. I'm rambling on. It's almost 3 minutes of just showing this figure. Let's zoom in and take a look at the accessories and the awesome figure. So first, we're looking at the Trans Dagger, and this looks pretty good. We got the blue there with the yellow paint. The thing that drives me crazy, though, is this gray plastic. It's the cheap-ass gray, like, almost translucent plastic that I absolutely hate. You hear me talk about it all the time because it's just so cheap-looking. I hate it. But it's molded nicely, and it looks how it's supposed to look, so kudos there, I guess. We get interchangeable hands, so in the packed, we got a fist for the left. We have a karate chop hand for the right. In the package, he has the two holding hands. We get his Quasar Saber here. This is the one that is not extended out. You can see there, and it does have the Gorilla logo there, whereas Leo, when it was first shown, he had Leo's, which I don't know what, I think it's a lion, right? So it showed that same one. Even on the back of the package, it does show Leo's symbol, but they did correct the figure on its release to actually have the correct logo on there, which is pretty cool. And you can see it's just on the front and the back, whereas Leo's is just all black on the other side. So that is pretty cool. On the Quasar Saber, the extended one, let's just holster that or sheath that. The extended one you can see here, and that looks pretty nice. Got the little V there, and then we got the Gorilla logo there. So that looks pretty good. Nice silver paint for the blade. So I like that. And then we get this lightning effect piece, which I guess you could use with the Quasar Saber, because I think this one, the way they kind of designed it, it can kind of do that type of thing, and that is pretty cool. So we have there, but let's look at the figure itself and the Kai-Chen head. Okay, so there is an up-close look at the Kai-Chen unhelmeted head, and it looks really good. One of the best that Hasbro has done, in my opinion. I think it looks spot on to how the actor looked way back when that show came out, and I think probably the late 90s at that point. It may have even been 2000, I'm not sure, but you know, back then, the hair sculpt came out really nice. I really like the way it looks, so that is good. It sits nicely on the neck peg, so it's not too low or anything like that. I think it's just right. So we're going to pop that off now so we can see the helmet and talk about the good things that Hasbro did here. And when I shouldn't praise this because that's the standard, right? They got the paint scheme right. It's just that when they first originally showed the figure and the promo images and everything, this top portion above the visor was white, and it just looked off because it was wrong. You know, the helmet should be all silver. They did it all silver in the actual release. Typically, when you see those promo images where you see a figure in a box, that's usually like final production. That's how it's going to look. Very rarely are there changes made to that. But sometimes there are, and in this instance, I'm glad they did it because they got it right. There's times where Hasbro has gotten things wrong, like the Red Ranger's helmet, right? The silver doesn't go all the way around the visor. That's going to be corrected in the metallic version that's coming out. So it's nice when they actually get it right the first time. So that looks good. Now, I should not give high praise because that's the standard, right? That's what Hasbro is supposed to do. So I'm glad they got it right. And I think it sits nicely on the neck, not too low or anything like that. Looking at the rest of the figure, not a whole lot going on for it. A lot of blue, a lot of white, some black lines there. One thing that this figure that they did, just like the second release of Leo, the black lines there, on the first release, you could see the white of that plastic, like the black just doesn't kind of wrap around. That is not an issue with this one, so the consistency between the second release and the new one looks pretty good. So now let's zoom out for his articulation. Okay, so Lost Galaxy Blue, his articulation, he can look all the way down because it sits nicely on that neck peg. He can actually look up, so fantastic when Hasbro gets that right as well. Full rotation in there, and you actually do get some pivot. You get the arm to go up that high. You get a full rotation around. You have an upper bicep swivel there. You get a double jointed elbow, which is solid, as you can see there. Wrists swivel, and they do hinge. It was mentioned in a comment on a previous video, some of these, like with the sword, I guess this isn't so bad, but they probably should have the vertical hinge, especially the figures with lances, but that, I guess, not so much an issue on this one. You do have the butterfly joint, so you can get the arm to go back. You can get it to come forward a little bit as well. We have the diaphragm joint, so he can pivot to his left that much. He can pivot to his right that much. You can go back a little bit. You can come forward a little bit, but then we have the ab crunch there, so he can crunch down that far. He can go back good amount as well there. There is no waist swivel, so you have the swivel at the diaphragm joint is where you would do his twists and his turns. Legs go out that far apart. He can kick forward that much. Leg goes back, not really. Upper thigh cut, double jointed knee like so. You have a boot swivel right at the top of the boot. Foot hinges all the way down. You get some hinge up, but then the top of that foot hits the boot. Ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Again, standard articulation. All these Rangers have the same exact articulation, but we go over it anyway. So there he is. Now let's see him next to Leo, so you can see them all fully right next to each other. So next to the two releases of Lost Galaxy Red, here we have Blue in the middle. So it's nice to see the team coming along, and I think some leak lists already show some of the other Rangers. I forget which ones are going to be coming out, but I am excited to see. I know it seems like it's been switched up for there to be a Green Ranger in every wave now, as opposed to a Red Ranger. So maybe we'll see Lost Galaxy Green come out in one of the upcoming waves. I'm not really sure. It's hard for me to keep up with all of the leaked and rumored lists. Power Rangers, I'm not as up to date on it, say, as like Marvel Legends, but I have heard some of those things, so I know some are coming. So I am excited to see what accessories will they come with. I have no freaking clue. Who knows? It's going to be a toss-up. Flip a coin and we'll see. Maybe a Trans Dagger, maybe a Quasar blaster, launcher, whatever. We'll see, but so far we have the team. So not a proper Lost Galaxy villain, but we do have the Blue Psycho Ranger from Power Rangers in Space, where they originated, but they did make a couple of appearances, a couple episodes of Lost Galaxy. I want to say Blue died off kind of early. I could be wrong there, but we have at least some kind of villain to go along with each other. You can see the blues don't match. It's a much brighter blue, whereas the In Space Ranger, Lost Galaxy Ranger, excuse me, has a much darker blue. But at least we get them side by side. We have something, and then you can see side by side that the Psycho Ranger is pretty small compared to the other Ranger. Like, he's kind of a little guy, but he packs a big punch. Psycho Rangers are pretty psycho, for lack of a better term. They were pretty cool, though. Pink really does some damage to the team. If you haven't seen, it's some pretty interesting stuff that they actually did in Lost Galaxy that, you know, for a kid's show, you would think, oh my God, they would never, like, you can't do that. So it was pretty cool because I heard about that and I'm like, okay, I got to watch for myself. And that's kind of when I found out. So some interesting things. Okay, and just as a last side-by-side, speaking of kind of those episodes I was talking about, those episodes had a crossover with actually the In Space Rangers, so we can actually kind of do some of those crossover episodes that they did. I think with a lot of the Rangers that they've released so far, we can't do a whole lot of things. I guess you could do Red with some of the Beast Morphers. You could do Black Mighty Morphin with In Space Black Carlos when Adam had made an appearance and he had his busted ass morpher and was like, Carlos needs my help. So he morphs and he's like all hurting for power and stuff, and it was dangerous. So we can get some of those crossover things going. And I know, like, I guess with In Space Red and Lost Galaxy Red, you could do like the Forever Red stuff. So it's kind of coming along. So it's kind of nice that we can do a lot more of those things now. Okay, so my final thoughts on the figure. I'm very pleased with it. Let's continue to finish off these teams. Let's focus on, 2 or 3 seasons at a time with these waves, and let's get these teams completed. We're working their way there, even though I guess technically he's only the second from the team, but it's coming along. So I like what Hasbro's doing. This figure is kind of represents the things that Hasbro can do. The unfortunate thing is they don't do it this good every single time, but this is for sure a solid release. The Kai Chen portrait head sculpt is really, really good. The head sits nicely on the neck peg, not too low, not too high. The paint scheme detail of the helmet were corrected. We got the Quasar saber that actually has the correct animal logo on it. So again, this is what Hasbro can do well. We have a personal weapon, with the Cosmo Claw, the Trans Dagger. The only thing missing would be the Quasar launcher, which I guess would be too much, even though I think, Hasbro could do it actually owning the Power Rangers brand outright. No licensing fees. But it is what it is, I guess. You know, if we're going to have to pick and choose, I guess the Quasar Launcher is something that I would not want. But then I'm kind of mad that we don't get the Trans Dagger for red. So it is what it is. Having said all that, you guys let me know what you think of this figure in particular, what you think of the Lightning Collection line as a whole. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.